Let's move into a discussion of the first chakra now, also called the root chakra, or the center at the base of the spine. This center has to do with our physical survival, our will to live. On the consciousness side of things, this center is the seat of our information on structure, stability, safety, security, and tribal or family mind. Energetically, this chakra creates the foundation for objective manifestation on all levels. And a really important facet of this chakra has to do with elimination, and that pertains to all of the vehicles. So elimination in the physical body, having to do with all the organs and systems of elimination in the physical body, but also having to do with elimination or releasing energy out of the astral, mental, and spiritual bodies as well. The first chakra governs the entire skeletal system, so all of the bones and sinews and scaffolding of the body, and particularly has to do with the legs and the knees and the feet. And if you remember, I said that the glands are the first order of precipitation of the chakra system. So the glands having to do with the first chakra are the adrenal glands. Other organs and body parts related to the first chakra include the kidneys, skin, hair, and the first chakra controls our sense of smell and has a special relationship with the spleen center, which is an important minor energy center that distributes prana or life force energy throughout the body. On the consciousness side of things, the base center holds our unconscious fears and instincts for survival, as well as for success and for achievement. Some of the higher order positive things that we can learn in this first level of consciousness have to do with bonding with others, working within a group. And as we learn how to assimilate our tribe's values and beliefs and behavioral tendencies, we learn to feel a part of something bigger than just us and to sacrifice our needs for the needs of the group when necessary to protect our survival or our tribe's survival. In the early stages of our human development, this sacrificial tendency will still be selfishly motivated at first. It will be based on a personal will to live, a personal will to survive, and to be safe within the group. It will only be much later in our development that our willingness to sacrifice our part for the larger whole will be based upon a desire to serve the highest good of the group. But that's sort of where we're headed, and that's some of the gifts that are inherent in this level of consciousness and in this level of energy. So in general, this is the level of consciousness where we first learn how to adapt and cope through our drive to survive. Some of the lower tendencies to overcome as we evolve this center are an innate fear of rejection from our tribe. And this is because really, when we first come into the physical world, we truly are 100% dependent upon somebody outside of ourselves for our care. And if we fail to bond with at least one primary caregiver, we will certainly die. And so that is innate, it's instinctual to seek out and to bond with the tribe. And truly, in many aspects, it's still true today, but certainly in the age of early man, it was truly a matter of life and death if you were to be expelled from your tribe. Your chances of survival were very poor. Plus the fact that we are innately social as well. So even if you managed to have the survival skills, were old enough when you were ejected from your tribe to physically take care of yourself, most people did not thrive anyway because they needed that connection with others. So an important factor to understand about this first level of consciousness is that it is through this tribal orientation that we inherit the biases, prejudices, and blind spots of our tribe, because they are programmed into our minds through our family, our religion, our nation, our gender, our generation, and our educational systems, starting at birth and continuing on until we arrive at a point in our own personal evolution where we begin to desire to think for ourselves and begin to question some of these inherited ideas, beliefs, values, and in general, how we are oriented towards ourselves, others, and the world around us. There does come a time, eventually, when we arrive at a point in the evolution of our consciousness where we really begin to learn that we have to question the status quo and even risk being rejected or questioned by our tribe in order for us to arrive at higher levels of truth and move out of the myopic programming and ways of doing things that have come down the genetic line, come down the family line, the national line, and so on and so forth. So, we arrive at that task when we're ready, and it can be a daunting one because we have to be willing to let go of a certain sense of security as we aspire for higher levels of truth and a broader understanding. It's really important, that we balance the first chakra as it is the foundation of our creative life and form. If this chakra is out of balance, it impacts all of the others. If we are in survival mode, we instinctively move into the primal activity of protecting ourselves and securing what we need to survive. Fear becomes the governing force, and the subconscious instinct to fight, flee, or freeze dominates the mind and affects our decisions and our behavior. So, on the other hand, when we are stable and secure in the world, when we experience a solid foundation, then we also tend to have a sense of empowerment and security. And then that frees us up creatively. Our energies can be used for other higher order activities. So here are some of the possible symptoms associated with an out of balance first chakra. First, let's take a look at overstimulation. Okay, this situation can produce symptoms such as paranoia, aggression, mania, nervousness, and fear, kind of elevated levels of fear, or even low-grade kind of chronic fear. There's a tendency with overstimulation to overemphasize basic survival needs and to be overly focused on things like food and eating. Eating when we're not hungry or overeating, or conversely undereating. Anorexia is one of the issues that can emerge out of a very out of balance first chakra. Or it can take other forms. It doesn't necessarily have always to do with food. It can have to do with obsessing over money, with a sort of manic drive to acquire and hoard money, or displaying a strong need to overpower others. Other pitfalls associated with an overstimulated first chakra include self-medicating, misusing drugs and alcohol to numb one's feelings of insecurity, paranoia, or vulnerability. And I want to point out that self-medicating does not in and of itself necessarily indicate a problem with the first chakra per se. That coping strategy may be used in reaction to imbalances in other chakras as well. So the clue that would point to a first chakra imbalance would be the reason behind the substance abuse, which in this case would be in response to feelings of insecurity, paranoia, or vulnerability. Those are all first chakra issues. Okay, now, so let's look at an underactive or understimulated first chakra, which can produce symptoms such as apathy, weakness, depression, passivity, lethargy. So this person may tend to give up easily, neglect basic self-care, and slip into states of depression. They may spend a lot of time daydreaming, suffer from delusions, or develop more serious mental illnesses. Physical symptoms of imbalance can include things like sexual and fertility issues, problems with the urinary system, colon and kidneys, constipation, diarrhea, and rectal and anal problems, impotence or water retention. Anything having to do with that sort of area where the first chakra is, right? It's at the base of the spine. Issues with the hips, pelvis, lower back, sciatica, and the knees and feet are also involved because they are ruled by the first chakra. Ankles, the skeletal system in general would indicate taking a look at that first chakra and seeing what's going on there. Prostate problems in men, eating disorders like I mentioned, chronic fatigue, chain smoking, and once again, mental illness. On the emotional side, if we're kind of looking at up in the astral body now, the astral level of the chakra, these symptoms can include feelings such as a chronic sense of insecurity, constant worry, inability to feel safe in the world, commitment issues, and an inability to express one's emotions, to lighten up, have fun, enjoy one's sexuality, or experience pleasure. Also, an inability to pursue one's ambitions and achieve success. Those are, just to give you an idea of what could be happening in the emotional body with an out of balanced first chakra. All of us have experienced some of these things at various points in our lives. So we're not talking about temporary symptoms that arise in connection with a circumstance that warrants our immediate attention. A death in the family, a divorce, a job change, an injury or accident, even a major move can really stimulate the first chakra. And rightly so, because we're in a great state of flux and disequilibrium. We really need to be focusing on how we're going to navigate through that, how we're going to take care of ourselves. So when we're talking about an imbalance in the system or sort of a chronic problem, we're looking at more deeply seated issues that persist over time or recur over and over again as repeating patterns of limitation in our lives. That gives us a little better sense then that there's an issue that needs to be addressed. All right, so let's talk about some healing strategies for the first chakra, and I'm basically going to give you some practical stuff, some fun stuff, and then, like I said, there's going to also be attached to this class a guided meditation. All right, so grounding is essential to health and wellness. It's just essential to the health and wellness of our entire energetic system, and it's particularly important in stabilizing and balancing the first chakra. So that's even why we started at the beginning of this class. I had you ground and relax and center. It's just really fundamental to creating the necessary stability to do anything, really. So learning how to do a really good grounding practice, some sort of meditative practice or mindfulness practice that connects you to the earth, connects you to your body is really important. Any electrician can tell you the importance of grounding when working with electricity, right? And we're talking energy here. So if you look at that funny looking third prong on an electrical cord, that's the grounding. That's the grounding on that system. It sends excess energy into the ground. It neutralizes the energy and prevents the wire from being overdriven and potentially blowing out a circuit or electrocuting someone. So once again, the energy system is a system of electromagnetic energy, and that's why grounding works in exactly the same way. It helps us to arc off any excess energy, and it also can help us bring up our energy by creating some stability so we're not using a lot of energy frantically or frenetically trying to keep ourselves safe. And I just want to take a moment here just to talk about grounding and running energy in general. It's a meditative practice that enables us to consciously work with the energy of our bodies, and I can't really tell you how important that has turned out to be for me and for the people that I work with. Really developing that inner awareness that enables us to consciously work with our energetic bodies, aligning, balancing, and restoring our energy field to healthy rates and right rhythms. This practice creates a bridge that connects us with the energy of the higher spiritual planes and with the energy of the earth. And by running both earth and cosmic energy, which is what you'll learn in these, I call them the GRE meditations, grounding and running energy meditations. By running both earth and cosmic energy through our system, we clean out and balance our entire energy system and all of these energetic bodies. And as this clean, healthy energy flows through us, we are able to let go of the past and release those energies that are creating blockages in our system. As we release the old, we simultaneously fill up with new, harmonious energy and circulate it through our physical, etheric, astral, emotional, mental bodies. And then, having stable, clean, harmonious energy opens up our ability to expand our conscious awareness and connect us with higher states of being while remaining safely in the body and anchoring that higher awareness onto the earth plane so that we can use it in our everyday life. Not just go off and have this wonderful meditative experience that we can't translate or bring into our daily life. So, yeah, and that's important. Remember, we're working towards becoming a full revelation here of our divinity in objective form. So I can always tell when one of my clients or students is really taking the time to ground and run energy daily, because they rapidly begin to manifest visible and tangible results in their life. Plus, I can see it, when I look clairvoyantly at their space, I can really see the difference. So like I said, I'm including some powerful grounding and running energy meditations throughout the class, but the one for the first chakra will really be focusing on the grounding aspect. Okay. And it's a practice that is really an effective way to both heal and also to prevent imbalance in the future. All right. So what can you do in addition to grounding and running energy? Now I could get off my soapbox here. And what can you do to heal and support the first chakra? And of course, spending time in nature tends to be inherently grounding for people, just because you're able to tune out all of the distraction energy. This is if you really go into nature in a mindful way and really focus your attention on your surroundings, kind of breathing in the scents and focusing in on the sounds and feeling the texture of whatever the environment is, whether you're walking on a beach and sinking your feet into the warm sand, or you're strolling through the woods, or even if you're just in your neighborhood walking through the neighborhood or walking through a park and just hearing the breeze rustling through the trees and looking at the flowers and breathing fresh air. This can be a very restorative practice and very grounding and very, very healing to the first chakra, physically, emotionally, and mentally. So it's definitely a powerful technique to use, and one that's pretty easy to incorporate into our life. Exercise is another important way to support your first chakra and balance the body. Eating healthy, clean food that your body likes is another important practice. Eat regularly and avoid skipping meals or overeating at one or more of your meals. Drink plenty of fresh, clean water. If you smoke, find a way to break the habit and allow the body to heal. If you have a substance abuse problem, be your own best friend and take real, tangible steps towards resolving the underlying issues, and seek out appropriate help and support for you so that you can do this and succeed at it. To overcome feelings of depression, insecurity, and powerlessness, begin to address your concerns honestly and forthrightly rather than remain captive within the ideas and beliefs underlying those experiential states. Our emotional state really is a very sensitive feedback system, and it's basically lets us know that something critically important to us is out of whack. If we're feeling depressed, something is not right. So paying attention rather than just medicating or coping or just trying to struggle through it, or whip yourself in line, those are short-term strategies that people can use to get through a bad day. But if it's a chronic problem, then really there is something that needs to be addressed, and you deserve it. You deserve to be your own best friend. You deserve to do the work. You deserve to find out what that is and begin to take the steps to help yourself move out of whatever is not working for you, mentally, emotionally, or physically. So pay attention, and with loving compassion, take steps to assert intelligent control over the tendency to worry or habitual negativity or pessimism. Really keep an eye out for those things, because energy follows thought. If you find that you are habitually turning your thoughts in a negative vein, then you're kind of teaching yourself to be pessimistic or negative, and you consequently are creating those results. The energy in and of itself is neutral. So it's like, oh, that's what we're building. We're building a bad day. We're building a bad result. Oh, it's not very likely to happen. Oh, okay, is that what we're doing? Is that how we're setting the probabilities? No one's going to like me. Oh, okay. Is that what we're setting out to experience? So let's make sure we attract people in that we're going to have a problem with or that we're going to clash with. We're much more powerful than we think. So be mindful of that and take a look at it. And again, get curious about it. What's behind that negativity? Is there some underlying core belief that you can't trust the world? So just don't expect much. And if you don't expect much, you won't be disappointed. Only the problem is, because energy follows thought, if you don't expect much, you won't get much. So many people find they need help with these difficult experiences. So I encourage you to seek out a qualified spiritual counselor or therapist to help you through the healing process. You don't have to do it alone. And also, you have this fantastic inner wisdom within you. You have this brilliant, shining light within you. So learning how to meditate and get in touch with that aspect can help you. But sometimes if you're really, really down, if the energy's really low, you can't raise your vibration high enough, can't raise the consciousness high enough to make contact with that aspect of self that's sitting at a higher vibration. So do some bridging work and get some help for you. If you're feeling a lack of enthusiasm for your life or feeling stuck in situations or routines that deplete your energy and leave you feeling drained and apathetic, take the time to discern what are your true needs. What is your real purpose here? A lot of people just kind of launch into their life. They do maybe what their parents told them to do, or they just follow some course of action that seemed to make sense at the time, but it's no longer serving whatever that path was or whatever that form was has served its purpose. And now there's sort of this feeling of emptiness. And that's often because whatever you were supposed to experience through those choices, you've already done. You've learned what you needed to learn. You've done what you needed to do. And now the creativity is turning stagnant and becoming destructive. So we are creative by nature. So we create and we destroy. And if we are not creating, we are destroying. So, and we need to understand this about ourselves so that we can understand how to use destroy energy appropriately. Perhaps this situation or the relationship or the job or whatever it is does need to be destroyed. And by destroyed, I mean changed or transmutated or altered or perhaps ended. It needs to move out of the structure that it's in, move out of the pattern that it's in. So that would be a kind of a precise, conscious way of directing destroy energy. So we can say, how can I create movement here and turn it into a creative act? Where do I need to be? Where should I be? What is my purpose? What should I be doing at this point in my life? So some of the things that can help you do that is to go into a quiet reflection space and kind of remember what it was like when you were a kid, and you could imagine all sorts of different things that you might do when you grew up, oh, I'll be a fireman, oh, I'll be an astronaut, whatever. You kind of went into this free, limitless space when we're a child. We don't necessarily think about how we can't do things. We just kind of daydream and think about what we'd like to do. So you can tap into that same sort of uncensored enthusiasm, sky's the limit, and begin to open up that floodgate again. Open up that creative imagining space, because that is how we create. And like I said, we are creators. We're creating all the time. And that is how the creative process starts. If energy follows thought, where does the thought come from, right? It's that creative imagination. So in a way, there's an aspect of God that's the biggest dreamer of all, dreaming up this universe, dreaming up this experience, and then manifesting it. So we want to tap into that very creative, open imagination space and start to let that energy in so that we can then begin to envision steps or processes that can then come in and support a change of direction for us. Another excellent strategy for combating negativity and pessimism is to start a gratitude practice. Each day, take a few moments to appreciate the people and things in your life that are important to you and make your life better. And a lot of times you take things for granted. I mean, it could be as simple as thank you legs, for working and getting me up and throughout the day. Thank you car for getting me to work, Thank you, food. Thank you, cereal. It can, we take a lot for granted. So if you find yourself having trouble coming up with maybe 5 things to be grateful for, that would be an indication of a mind that's set towards negativity. And you might want to ease it back over into a positive direction by starting this gratitude practice. Another thing is to start to move out of scarcity thinking into abundance thinking. The world around us shows us on a daily basis that the universe is inherently abundant. I mean, step outside at night and try to count the stars in the sky. It can't be done. I mean, try to count the leaves on one tree. You just can't do it. So, Spirit is showing us that the innate nature of the divine is abundant and that there is more than enough. It's our own thinking really that has precipitated this experience of scarcity, and that it came from our thinking and the way we work with resources and the way we work with one another. So start to move the mind over into abundance thinking, and nature can help you do that. Another effective practice is what I call a practice of remembrance, where you begin to take the time to reflect back on your life and start to look for the positive experiences. It's funny, we tend to sort of go unconscious to those and keep negative experiences in the forefront, keep a pretty tight catalog of those, but push those aside and take a few moments and look back on your life and try to recall those times when maybe you asked for something within, you kind of ask Spirit, ask God, ask the universe for something, and it's come to you, an answer, an opportunity, a connection, a resource, a healing, a turning point. Look at those turning points in your life. Good things do come our way when we ask the divine for help. We will get a response. The trick is sometimes in fully understanding the response. That can get tricky. Sometimes in order for the thing we really need to come in, the thing we think we needs to fail to come in, or the thing that's standing in our way needs to leave first, and then the way is cleared for our good to come in, right? So it can be a little bit of a tricky process, but kind of look at those turning points, look at those times when things turned around, and begin to hold that in your mind as an orientation that you have asked and received, that you have been a seeker and you have found, and you have knocked and the door's been opened. So learning how to appreciate what we have and trusting that the universe is abundant and wants to support us and fill us up with good things helps us get the energy moving in that direction. It definitely helps move us out of apathy and lethargy, and it moves us into enthusiasm, anticipation, excitement, and so on and so forth. So, and again, honestly confronting and resolving our negative thoughts rather than repressing or ignoring them is really very vital to our wellness. So in this way, we really do start to take tangible steps towards becoming a fully conscious creator when we stop, we assess, we listen, and then we intelligently respond. We take action, we find support for ourselves, we find strategies and employ them and use them. So all right, let's take a moment to go over some other types of energetic care practices. Let's start with aromatherapy. That's a fun, relatively inexpensive way to start working with energy and catalyzing change. You can purchase essential oils and diffuse them into the air, or you can mix them with a carrier oil, like fractionated coconut oil, and apply them topically to the bottom of your feet or around the area that you're wanting to heal. It's kind of a fun way to just kind of introduce yourself to the world of energy. And I have found that for myself personally, I really respond quite well to the oils. And someone once explained that it makes a lot of sense that our bodies would respond well to essential oils because we evolved the dense physical body over many millions of years, imbibing, basically ingesting these same compounds through the plants and berries and so on and so forth. So our bodies recognize the energy and respond quite readily. And it was explained to me that you will have a tendency to have less side effects by using these blueprints, basically energetic blueprints that the body easily recognizes, whereas so much of modern medicine uses synthetic blueprints, synthetic materials, and the body does not really recognize and respond as well to those energy patterns. So just food for thought, something to think about. Some of the oils recommended for the first chakra include ylang ylang, patchouli, sandalwood, myrrh, and rosemary. And a lot of times you can get really good information from the oil manufacturers. For instance, doTERRA has a book about essential oils, and there's lots of books out there on essential oils. You can kind of play with them. But all right, so healing foods that you can play with to support the first chakra include, let's see, parsnips, soy, tofu, eggs, beans, meat, rainbow chard, beets, spinach, peppers, and hot spices. And, you know, there are attachments, handouts that come with this class. So you don't necessarily have to write all these down, because you can just download the attachments and you'll find all this stuff there. Crystals are another fun way to start working with energy, crystals and stones. And those recommended for the first chakra include any of the red stones, you know, garnet, red jasper. Black tourmaline is a dark, it's not red, it's kind of a blackish color. Bloodstone, hematite, that's also kind of a grayish color. Rhodochrosite, jet, and smoky quartz. So those are all good first chakra gemstones. And also just working with color. So the color associated with the first chakra is red, because that's how it appears in the aura to a clairvoyant. When they look in a person's aura, they tend to see red because it's the lowest vibration, waveform. You can experiment with wearing clothing that falls in the red spectrum, or bathe yourself in red light. In your meditation space, you can play with running red energy through the first chakra, or releasing unwanted energy down your grounding cord. If you're familiar with the science of the 7 sacred rays, which is another class that I teach, and that's such a great new information coming onto the planet. But in any case, if you're familiar with the 7 rays, the ray associated with the first chakra is the 7th ray, which is a violet color. And you can try working with that energy to heal the first chakra, or to balance the first chakra, even though traditionally violet is associated with the 7th chakra. But esoterically, the 7th chakra and the first chakra are related and work ultimately as a team. So I don't see any conflict in working with both of those colors when healing the first chakra. It's all about experimenting and finding what works for you, finding your own wisdom. And then there's sound, basically. As far as sound goes, I found that there's no agreement amongst the various sources on one specific frequency for the first chakra, but instead a range of lower frequencies are cited, some as low as 174 hertz up to about 256 hertz or thereabouts. Middle C on the piano is around 261 hertz and is typically cited as the keynote for the first chakra. So you can experiment with sound for yourself and see what feels good for you. I often just pick a relatively low note to hum or tone or tune to tune my first chakra, and that works very well for me. However, I've also worked specifically with middle C, and that has been fun and effective too. For those of you who aren't familiar with toning, let me explain a little bit about what it is, because it's definitely a very, very powerful way to work with energy and to create alignment, and it's very effective. So first of all, toning is not so much singing as it is just making a sound. You breathe in and you bring out this tone. Bring it out on a vowel sound. So you don't have to know how to sing to tone is the point. For the first chakra, I recommend, like I said, just using a low pitch that you can comfortably sustain. You want to have a nice long sustain to tone. But you can, if you have an instrument or a tuning fork, or you want to go on the internet and find out what middle C is and match that pitch, you can do that too, whatever feels really good to you. All right, so why don't we try it real quick here? Why don't we do a little bit of toning? And again, anytime you're going to do any kind of energy work, I recommend you ground first. So just take a moment, whether you're standing or sitting, create that line of energy from the base of the spine, from that first chakra, right down to the center of the planet, nice and wide. Set it on release. And then you're going to take an in-breath, and the vowel sound associated with the first chakra for toning is like up. So you're going to go do an sound, and we're just going to pick a nice low note. Well, here we go. We can use a middle C. So this is the note right here, and we're just going to take a deep breath in, and then come out. You just take an in-breath, and that ends the note for you. And when you're toning, you want to do this for a couple of minutes. But even if you don't have time to do it for 2 or 3 minutes, just do at least 2 or 3 of those nice full breath, and you let it come out. Have to worry about the pitch. Again, it's not singing. And as you do that, envision that sound flowing through the first chakra, really stimulating the energy there, balancing and harmonizing and restoring that chakra to your divine blueprint. Okay, so thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you gained some new insights into the chakra system, and particularly the first chakra, and hopefully you have some new ideas on how you can create some balance in that first chakra and start to get curious about the health and wellness of that level of energy and consciousness for yourself. And I encourage you to really create an action plan for yourself right now while you're thinking about it, and commit to it so that you can begin the process of creating a transformational change in your life. Great. You can discover your own best practices and answers. Remember, you have a wise being in there. You are a creator, and you have some really great answers in there. So take the time to create a good connection with that inner wisdom. Everything you need is inside of you. All right. Thanks again, and I'll see you next time. Cheers.